Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another chapter of Comments from the Peanut Gallery. Oh, and yes, the Galilee gathering. But today I'm going to give you a synopsis of the happening. And maybe I can help with why it's so vitally important. Okay, first off, the ones who went. 5 places recorded, go to Galilee. I will be there before you get there. Jesus' statement, angels directed Mary Magdalene, Mary from Magdala, to go and tell. And Jesus had thousands of disciples. There was the 12, okay? They're identified by name. But he had thousands of them. There was places, like at least 17, 18 places recorded where he went someplace and healed people, and everyone was healed. There was approximately 6 million people in Israel at that time. The traveling preacher went in and gave people new arms, legs, eyeballs, their hearing, crippled, arthritic, and healed them all, okay? That would leave a real impact. And he did that over and over and over and over again. People healed of leprosy, and they get their fingers back, okay? Restored, every wood whole, go show yourself to the priest. That happened over and over again. He had lots of disciples, lots and lots of them. This concept of just 12 is just pure hokey, idiotic. There was, okay, so the ones that went to Galilee, they were only the ones who were ready to go. They were preppers. They were prepped to go. And they believed that he had been raised from the dead. And before he went to the cross, he had told them exactly what he was going to do, and that they should anticipate this, that he was going to go to Galilee, and he would be there before they got there, and he could see him, they could see him, visit with him. Okay, this Galilee gathering then went on for 3, 4, maybe even 5 days. And I'm quite confident that he started with, and maybe he spent most of the time with, the prophecies. Hundreds of them, over 300. They identified Jesus, Messiah. They brought it down to there's nobody except him that could have fulfilled all of those prophecies. So, they're getting all of this data, all of this information about the prophecies. All of it, just like almost overload on this. And why is that important? Jesus was the Passover lamb. Passover, it's one of the 3 yearly pilgrimages to Jerusalem, where the city would grow by a size of about 1 million people or more. Okay, the next pilgrimage where people would come in, and this one, it's recorded, they come from all over the world. 1 million people, could have been 1 million, could have been more than 1 million people flooding the streets of Jerusalem. And who was there to greet him? Jesus took the Galilee gathering people, and he took them up to Jerusalem. It was their mission. They're going to do this together. And he stayed with them for another, figure 36 days, that he stayed with them and showed himself alive to those people, the Galilee gathering people. Showed himself alive to them for a total of 40 days. And the people that were coming to Jerusalem for the celebration of the giving of the law, help us all. We're gonna go celebrate the giving of the law and Moses and the prophets and Moses. And that's exactly what Jesus had expounded to those Galilee gathering people, so they would be ready to meet up with these people, the most zealous on the planet. The most zealous on the planet. And here they come. They're descending on Jerusalem. the most zealous, like 1 million of them. But there is maybe 2,000 plus. Okay, Paul identifies there's at least 500 there was more than 500 adult males. Well, a lot of times an adult male comes in company with an adult female, usually wife or something like that, especially then. Oh, and maybe they got 2, 3, 4 kids. Maybe they got youth. They didn't count the youth. They didn't count the teenagers. They didn't count the kids. They didn't count the women. But there was at least, there was more than 500 adult male that showed up at the Galilee gathering. So they were there. And then, again, they are the most zealous. They expected, they were hot on fire. They were going to go see this King of Kings and Lord of Lords who raised from the dead, purchased for them salvation. They had been watching for him all their life. And here he is. Okay? So then, he takes them to meet up with the ones, the most zealous, the most from all over the world. When you read all of the cities where they were coming from, they're coming from what we would call it Russia now, or Italy, or 1,500 miles out, Pontus and some of the other. They were coming a long ways, and they couldn't jump in an airplane and fly. They were taking boats, horses, donkeys, on foot. They were coming early. What's the point of getting to the meeting if it's over once you get there? So they were coming early, 10, 20, 30 days early, that they would get there early and just enjoy the journey. Yeah, they had no idea what they thought they were coming for the celebration of the giving of the law. And what they got was the fulfillment of the law and the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Fire, tongues of fire, all the stuff. The second chapter of Acts, the second chapter of Acts and the first chapter of Acts and all. And then they got educated by all of the people that went to the Galilee gathering. And then in turn, and this is the multiplied effect of, Jesus, all of his earthly ministry. And this is the most orchestrated, spirit helper orchestrated event of all time. And nobody knows about it. The Bible is full of it. It's just all full of information about it if we knew to look. So the most zealous goes there. Jesus is their teacher, trainer. And he says, you're going to go into Jerusalem until you're endued with power from on high. And in the meantime, what's coming in is the most zealous that are coming for the celebration of the giving of the law. What do they call it? If you look it up and you search it on the internet or something. And when I did this initially, it was, this day is not to be confused with Pentecost. It's 49 days after Passover. for what they, what Jesus brought was not 49 days after. Penta means 50. Pentecost, the arrival on 50 days. But it lands on the same day. This has been mapped out. The plan of salvation in place from before man walked on the planet. That's a long time. No matter how you count it, it's a long time that plan has been in place. And it was unfolding. That is the central happening of all time. Death, burial, resurrection, Galilee gathering, celebration of the giving of the law. And then all of those people wound up tighter than I am right now. All of those people head back to home. They take the gospel into all their world. They take it home. They came from all over the world. It says from all over the world, arriving at Jerusalem, and then they take the gospel with them home. They take the gospel into all their world. Blanketed the world with the gospel in 90 days. Because from the time they arrived in Jerusalem and the time they get home, 90 days. You talk about a fantastically orchestrated event. And maybe one of the biggest questions is, why don't you know anything about it? Why doesn't, as much as it is identified in the Bible, multiple places, that 20 minutes of just Bible verses that I brought, where it shows all of these different places talking about this happening, the Galilee gathering, celebration of the giving of the law, all of those people descending on Jerusalem, getting the gospel and going home. And I'll say it, the idiotic thought that there was only 12 guys that brought the gospel to the world. Oh, help us all. That is absolute stupidity. No, that's ignorance of the highest order. Oh, the chosen. Ha! Help us all. You know, even in the Constitution of the United States, no, the federal government shall not confer nobility status on any person. State government shall not confer nobility status on any person. And there's a lot of people that are trying to make those 12 nobility. Oh, they pray to them. They pray to Mary. What the blankety blank for? There's only one thing Mary ever said to the church, the sons and daughters of God. And that is, when Jesus turned the water into wine, and he said to the servants at the wedding, whatever she tells you to do, just do it. No, I got that exactly backwards. She told the servants. There, let's get this straight, Michael, because you put it exactly backwards. Mary told the servants, whatever Jesus tells you to do, do it. That was her one and only statement to the sons and daughters of God. So, yes, I'm slightly wound tight, but it's not caffeine, it's not coffee. I had 1 cup of coffee this morning, and I am somewhat perplexed with the huge volume of ignorance at the church in the box. It is obvious that God did not want centralized government, the one world order. No, he didn't want that. He didn't want centralized with somebody's thumb on somebody else's head ruling the world. Nobody wants that. God didn't want it. Jesus didn't want it. And when Jesus confronted it, he said, not in my kingdom. No. No. When John and Andrew? John and James, anyhow, John and his brother, and the mom brought him to Jesus, one on the right hand, one on the left. Jesus, when you come into your kingdom. And he said, not in my kingdom. You're talking about another kingdom, but not mine. So this centralized thing and nobility status, somebody that's after nobility status, they are functioning with desires that come from another kingdom. Let's see. Who else is out there? Let's see, this fallen creep angel, thoroughly defeated. And then, while I'm pounding the table, this thought of we're going to escape out of here, he's going to come and rescue us and take us out of this place. Oh, God, come and rescue us. That ain't going to happen. Prophecy. God said to Jesus, sit at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. It's the ability of God in his kids, the perfecting of the saints for the work of the ministry, which covers all of life and all of godliness. Jesus ain't, let's see, there is no such thing as just, rapture. The angels, when Jesus left the planet, and the 11 weren't there for that either, they were in the upper room in Jerusalem. Jesus led them out as far as Bethany, out of town, the Galilee gathering people, and maybe some that had come for the celebration. Maybe some that had come for the celebration of the giving of the law. They might have been some of them there too. But he led them out of Jerusalem. He left, and the angel said to him, in the same way you seen him leave, that's the way he's coming back. He just, up and away he goes. He went to the Heaven Castle ship. And yes, it is a ship. There's so many things written down so simple in the Word. Just absolutely simple, if people would only believe it. So, this sort of, we're going to escape. In what world can you leave the ring and be declared the victor? Sit at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. We got stuff to do in all of life, in all of godliness, and we're equipped by God through the new birth, his DNA in us, his nature, his character in us. I use the term DNA because it means something like hereditary. We got it from Almighty God, our Father who art in heaven. Out in space, our Father who art in space. His ship, he's out there, and there's lots of places where it talks about the heavenly Jerusalem. Lots of places. Lots of them. The heavenly Jerusalem. Read the last 2 chapters of Revelation. Talks about the ship. All the verbiage about it is in feminine gender, exactly the way a captain would talk about his ship. Jesus is the captain of that ship. It was for the joy that was set before him that he endured the cross. He had a picture inside of him of being the captain of that ship. He had left it, emptied himself, entered the body, coming as a baby. He was in that womb from the time of conception. When the Spirit helper came to Mary after she said, okay, be it unto me according to thy will. Okay, I'm not sure how this all works, but I've never had relations with a man ever. And she didn't until after Jesus was born. So, it's an amazing journey to enjoy.